Garland Police Department and the Garland Citizens Police Academy. That's what we're here to talk about today. Over my shoulder is the headquarters of the PD, but specifically this video is about the Citizens Police Academy and how wonderfully awesome it is. And I would do it all over again. I would have started the very next week and just kept going. It was great. So stick around and let me tell you about my experience with the Garland Citizens Police Academy. Hey everyone, again, I'm Roger Phillips. I'm a two-time resident of Garland. I grew up here back in the 1960s and 70s. I moved away, raised my family. I moved back as an adult because Garland is a great place to live. And I've always been a fan of police departments and military, but I didn't have any firsthand knowledge of the police department. Fortunately, I didn't, had a ticket here and there, but I didn't really understand what all they did in the course of a day. So I had a friend that was an officer here at Garland, and I wanted to do a ride along with him. And in order to do that, you have to graduate from their Citizens Police Academy. Well, I didn't know what that was. So I found out, I put in an application, and you have to be approved, and I was accepted, and it was great. And I'm here to tell you, after the halfway through the first night, I knew I was onto something good, because I did not look forward to the class coming to an end, and then I did look forward to the next week. So I'm going to show you some footage, videos, clips, interactive exercises we did as citizens that really sort of put us in the officer's place. From the traffic unit, we heard Veteran Officer Crockett explain what he does on a day-to-day basis, especially on commercial vehicles, and to ensure that they're safe and operating within the parameters that they're supposed to be. And if they're not, he has some pretty strict rules. He can pull them out of service until they rectify that. The city truck you see here was set up as a test for us. Several defects on it. We got to go around, see how many of them we could find. It's a little harder than we thought. Also from the traffic unit, we got to hear from a couple of the motor officers and hear the pros and cons of the different bikes that they ride. Harley Davidson versus BMW, I believe in this case. Everything has an advantage and a disadvantage, but they have very good equipment. They were proud of what they have and what they ride. We heard about the equipment they wear, the cost. Nothing's cheap, but it was very interesting, and it was enlightening to hear what a motor officer goes through on a day-to-day basis, practically year-round. While every class session was fun and for the most part interactive, one that did not disappoint in fun was the DWI field sobriety test demonstrations, where we could put on any of these goggles. If you didn't have personal experience with what it feels like to be intoxicated, you could put on these goggles, and they demonstrated different levels of impairment, whether they be from drugs or alcohol. And then you were allowed to walk the straight line, catch a ball from the officer. The things that we all see on TV as field sobriety tests. And it was a lot harder than it looks. And some of the students participated, and it was a lot of fun, but it was very eye-opening as well. One of the things I learned that I didn't realize Garland offered, and I don't know how many other cities' police departments may do the same, but is the Garland Boxing Gym. It's a community outreach program that was started in 1995 by a couple of former gang investigators that realized that the youth in the area, Garland specifically, but in the surrounding area, needed some help and an alternative to whatever was available for them to do in their spare time. Kids that needed a challenge, kids that just wanted to promote physical fitness, their better nutrition, learn self-discipline, all the things that prepare our youth for the future. They started with a half dozen kids or so, and to date they have made a difference in the lives of over 10,000 kids competing at the highest levels of boxing competition. They even have one that was training for the Olympic team, I believe. So the Garland Police Gym, a very good surprise that I got out of going to the police academy. I've driven by it many times, didn't even realize it was there. So just another little nugget that I picked up during the academy. Now, one of the coolest things that hands down, the coolest thing they brought for show and tell, and also it demonstrates the Garland PD's commitment to this academy, is they don't own their own helicopter, but they do have an officer on board. They partner with the Texas Department of Public Safety Aircraft Operations Division, and of course, we all know they provide statewide air patrol, criminal surveillance, rescue, and so forth. Inside that helicopter, the passenger is a Garland police officer. That's his daily office, and the pilot and the Garland officer answered questions until people stopped asking them. I mean, there was just no limit, I guess, to what they would have, the amount of time they would have spent with us. It was extremely interesting. Went over the features of the helicopter. You could set in and get your picture made if you wanted to. I was surprised and couldn't have been more impressed. Now, I can tell you after watching the demonstration of the K9 unit that if I were a bad guy and the officer in the fur coat, if I had his undivided attention, I would be very compliant. Garland has two K9 teams, and their K9 unit was formed in 1986. The officers conduct public demonstrations for schools, civic agencies, and so forth. They also, them and their dogs, go through 12 to 14 weeks of school together, learning the different skills, functions required of a K9 team. And these two here work together flawlessly. Dogs are the 24-hour responsibility of their handlers, and they live at the home of the officer. They retire them at about 8 to 10 years old, depending on their physical condition. And they want the dogs to have a non-working life, just like the officer or any of the rest of us want. After our career is over, we'd like to rest and relax. They're very sociable, and they enjoy interacting with people. I mean, he was extremely aggressive when he was supposed to be, and always under complete control. And when he was relaxed, he was just a friendly officer running around, loving on the love that we could give him as he walked by. When it's time for the K9 to retire, the officer is given the option of purchasing the animal as the family pet. And I thought that was impressive too, as a good ending to a good story. Now, personally, I can't think of too many things you could do for free that would be more exciting than drive a Garland police car on their training course with an officer beside you. But that's exactly what we did. They take you through the course slowly with them driving. You're the passenger. They show you exactly what to do, when and where to accelerate and brake. And then they come back to the starting line and they go through it one more time. They're still the driver to show you what up to speed actually feels like and looks like. Then it's our turn. We get behind the wheel, officer takes the passenger side, same thing. We go through slowly, them giving us final instructions, and then it's showtime. And when they say go, you do your best. We ran for time and score based on how many cones you did not or did knock over. At the end of the academy, during the banquet, they announced the winner. And unfortunately, it was not me. Now, during the 9th week of the academy, we got to do some shooting, and that was a lot of fun because we learned the right way, and we learned that we probably don't know as much about it as we thought we did. And some of us had never shot at all. Some of us thought we knew a little bit. I'm in that group that thought I knew a little bit. I got really humbled because these Garland officers are highly skilled, very qualified. They train constantly, and they're trained by what has to be one of the best officers in the business. We did about an hour of classroom. We learned how to hold the gun, shoot the gun, aim the gun, where to put your finger on the trigger. I mean, right down to the basics. And then we went out into their area where they have recreated areas of Garland that you, or any town that you may, a patrol officer may encounter a call from a pawn shop to a convenience store, office building with furniture. Everything was fully furnished as if it were a real place of business, hotel upstairs and downstairs, so forth. And when it was time to do our shooting, they called us up in groups of 3. We shot from 2 different distances, and then we were scored, and then the winners were announced at the end of the academy at the banquet, which was a lot of fun because it put a little bit of competition into the mix, and that made it a whole lot better. The Citizens Academy dedicated 1 full week to the bomb unit, and I can't say, just like all the other things, I can't say enough about these folks. Very brave men and women that are doing this, and they do it voluntarily as a second job to their regular full-time assignment. We met at a school where they demonstrated their robot. They had a brave student volunteer to put on the suit, and I think it's about 100 pounds of equipment, but it's a very stressful piece of equipment to be involved with. They also showed us the device that they use if they can't get to it, that they can destroy it from a distance and to keep everyone as safe as possible. It was like, I've never seen anything like that up close. SWAT team is comprised of over 30 officers drawn from across the department. SWAT personnel fills positions such as assault, sniper, negotiators, and intelligence. The officer's skill, knowledge, training, and expertise are factors when assignments are made within the team. The way these guys went about their work with such military-style precision and teamwork was extremely impressive and comforting to know that if something goes down in Garland, we're in good hands if we need them. We got to watch from the hallway as observers how they went from room to room and worked as a team to safely clear the facility and look for anybody that needed to be evacuated, good guys or bad guys. We also got to be inside the room, being in the same environment faculty and children could find themselves in the unfortunate incident of a lockdown situation. It was an eye-opener, I'll tell you that.
Everybody in this room, hands up, walk towards the door.
One of the things they demonstrated was their remote control robot that, as you can see, has flashlight capabilities so it can work in dark environments, but it also has a microphone. They can speak to the people that they can see from their remote location, and it was just like the officers. It was comforting and intimidating depending on which side of the line you're on. Well, they could have just explained it in a classroom setting like back at the police academy training area, but they didn't. I mean, everything was hands-on, and here's how we do it. That's what makes this academy and this police department all that much more impressive to me. Now, maybe not as hands-on exciting as helicopters and dogs and shooting and driving fast and bomb units and things is 911. Do you ever, like me, sometimes take for granted that it's always been here? Well, it hasn't. The history of 911 goes back to 1968. The first call was placed in February of 68, and thanks to 911, you can place a 911 call and get quickly connected to the help you need anywhere in the United States. One of the first things that happens is caller interrogation, so they know exactly how to respond. And of course, they have to know where you're calling from. And then what, who, when, and last but not least is, are there any weapons involved? Because first responders need to know what they're up against. The call taker's function is to receive incoming 911 and non-emergency calls. Caller interrogation is to help determine the appropriate response. The police event, fire event, or both police and fire are determined as to what's needed, and then the dispatcher sends units out to those calls as appropriate. These 911 operators are very proud of what they do. They don't consider what they do a job, but a career, and to some degree, it's even a calling. All dispatchers in Texas are licensed. They're trained with a GPD. It takes about a year and a half. They get 1,000 hours of on-the-job training. There's also license training, continuing education training as a dispatcher and medical dispatcher. They have the same background process as police officers. And again, not just a job, it's a career and it's a calling, and it may be for you. I actually got to witness the forensics team at work during my ride-along at the scene of a recent armed robbery. An investigator came out to get possible prints off the business door, and considering this was a convenience store, you know, there must have been dozens and dozens of prints on the door, but that didn't stop them from trying to see if one of these prints might be from the bad guy. We also learned that their unit has 3 distinct functions: investigations, latent print examination, and ballistics. They carry out their work in the field, out on scene, as well as back in their lab. On scene, they locate, document, and collect evidence, and they also maintain a chain of custody for that evidence. Back in their lab, any latent prints that they collected can be entered into statewide and federal databases to ensure or to search for potential matches. Ballistics research has come a long way since the 1920s. Here we see Calvin Goddard examining a revolver using a helixometer. That's an instrument he co-invented with John Fisher. It used a telescope inserted into the gun barrel to determine if the weapon had been fired recently, its rifling pattern, and also the condition of the barrel. But in Garland's lab today, they can enter fired cartridge cases into a specialized computer network that's maintained by the ATF. This also helps them determine the possible number of firearms involved and links to local agencies that might also have related ballistic evidence.
And at the end of it, they take it very serious. At the end, there's a graduation. Graduation is a catered affair. The chief of police comes, makes a speech. And then on graduation night, like I said, we did a catered dinner. They take it very serious. And all of this costs you absolutely nothing. I think they could charge for this. I would have paid to go through it now that I see it, but you don't have to. Now, to brag just a little on the alumni, they are a fun group of CPA graduates that want to give back to the PD by assisting with any of the programs they can, such as Christmas on the Square, Star Spangled Fourth, Labor Day Parade, various guns and hoses tournaments where police and fire compete against each other in friendly competition. They also get their own drive day and shooting range day, just like the CPA students did. They're also a 7-time Texas Alumni Association of the Year award winner, including 2024. All that to say, I hope to see you at the next class and also in the Alumni Association. Officer Matt Pesta, he's Public Information Officer, and I asked him what thoughts would he like for anyone that may watch this video to take away. And here's what he said. We work hard daily to provide the utmost service and commitment to our community. We take great pride in everything we do, and we make training a priority. And I'll interject my opinion here and tell you 1,000% I agree with that statement. So anyone interested in learning more about our PD, I encourage them to join our Citizen Police Academy. Go online, get an application, get it filled out and turned in, or be on the lookout for something they're very excited about, a new online portal where you can do the application process there. Well, there you go. And if you're still with me this far into the video, I really appreciate it. Now, if you found it helpful, please consider giving me a like or a subscribe. Leave a comment about a topic or some area in Garland that you'd like me to do a video about. I'd be glad to. We can all learn together. And last but not least, and of course the reason we made the video, was the Citizens Police Academy. I think you would do yourself a great service if you live or work in Garland. Put in an application. Hope to see you in the next class in February 2025.